And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
President Close, one moment. We just got to get the live recording going. Thank you.
All right, let's go. Go ahead and do the roll call.
Good morning, President Close. So members, bear with me. I'm going to be doing roll call today. So President Close.
Here.
Vice President Monteith.
Here.
Superintendent Designee Miller.
Here.
Ms. Barr.
Here.
Mr. Chimuni. Dr. Crockett. Ms. Foster. Ms. Foster. It's here. Okay. Mr. Ruiz. Mr. Stratton. Mr. Swanson.
Present.
President Close, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you, Ashley. We'll go ahead and do a couple of housekeeping items here. We'll have a couple of members joining us virtually. Most of the board members here are participating in person. We anticipate, as I said, a couple of members, Member Foster, Member Stratton, and Member Ruiz, at least temporarily until he gets here. Is that correct? To participate virtually. For board members that are in person, there are microphones directly in front of you. When they are red, the mic is not live. Please click on the mic when you want to talk. The mic will turn green and then you can speak. Once you are done speaking, please push the mic again so that it turns red. For board members participating via Zoom, please stay on mute. If you would like to speak, please push the hand icon to indicate that you would like to speak. This will help me know you would like to say something, and then I will make sure you have an opportunity to speak. For charters on the agenda that are participating via Zoom, please stay muted until your item is called. Once your item is called, board staff will introduce the item, and then I will call on you to address the board. At that time, you may unmute yourself. For charters on the agenda participating in person, once your item is called, board staff will provide a brief introduction and answer any questions board members may have for staff. Then I will request that representatives for the charter come up to the podium to address the board. And we did the roll call, a little out of order there, I apologize. Item D, Superintendent's report.
Good morning. Thank you, President Close. Good morning, members and community. Superintendent Horn's October report. The National Charter School Study 3 2023 by the Stanford University Center for Research on Education Outcomes, known as CREDO, was recently released. Superintendent Horn thanks CREDO Director Mackie Raymond for including Arizona students and her efforts on this in-depth analysis to improve empirical evidence about education reform and student performance. CREDO has used a common methodology across 31 states, 2 decades, and 3 studies. So their results speak to facts and trends in the performance of students enrolled in charter schools for at least the last 15 years. Some insights and outcomes that stand out include: 1, the typical charter school student has reading and math gains that outpaced their peers in the traditional public schools across all students, all schools, and for all time periods. The growth represents accelerated learning gains for tens of thousands of students across the country and demonstrates that it is possible to change the trajectory of learning for students at scale, and it is possible to dramatically accelerate growth for students who have traditionally been underserved by traditional school systems. 2, Black and Hispanic students in charter schools advance more than their traditional public school peers in large margins in both math and reading. 3, charter school students in poverty had stronger growth. 4, English language learner students attending charter schools had stronger growth. 5, unlike common perception, these results are not due to our higher achieving enrollment base. Charter schools enroll students who are disproportionately lower achieving. 6, the longer a student stays enrolled in a charter school, the better the student's academic outcomes are. And finally, 7, charter schools and networks improve over time, as do the systems that oversee them. In part, this is from the changing of the conventional strategy for public schools and instead using a construct of flexibility for accountability. Thank you again, Credo, for this important work. Last week, the Arizona Department of Education announced its development of the Arizona Education Economic Commission, a public-private partnership. Ensuring students have the academic skills needed to perform in the economy is a top priority of Superintendent Horn, and he has joined forces with the private sector and representatives from the governments of Switzerland, Taiwan, and the Navajo Nation to create the Arizona Education Economic Commission, a collaboration between education and industry. The core mission of the commission is to encourage workforce development and to provide Arizona students economic opportunities and a pathway to valuable careers. Horn states, quote, "The private sector desperately needs more skilled workers across all industries, and creating this commission with its goal of producing skilled graduates, creating jobs, and driving economic growth is essential to meet those needs," end quote. This concludes the superintendent's October report.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. Appreciate it. Moving on, Ashley.
Good morning, President Close, Superintendent Designee Miller, and board members. I am happy to introduce you to 3 new board staff. They joined our team, a few months ago at this point, in between our last meeting and now. And we are so excited to have them as part of our team. So I will first introduce Megan Enbring, and she'll come up and introduce herself.
Good morning. Good morning, President Board Close, Superintendent Designee Miller, and board members. My name is Megan Enbring, and I recently joined the team as an education program manager. Since starting this position in mid-September, I have learned a great deal of procedures and processes that ensure the success of students within the great state of Arizona. Pursuing my education elementary degree through Northern Arizona University, I received over 400 hours of experience within the classroom, including several school communities and Flagstaff, as well as teaching as a Department of Defense school. After receiving my state teaching certificate, I knew I had a true passion for helping children and grow within the community. Over the past 9 years, I have helped foster a love of learning for over 270 students. I have also had the opportunity to help countless others within tiered small group rotations and community projects. Throughout my years as an educator, I have been blessed to and been invited on many administrative projects that support student growth. These experiences and additional training hours have instilled in me that education is the highest importance for our children. Now, as a mother myself, I have seen the significance of the continuous pursuit of higher education for our state. I look forward to continuing the mission of the Arizona State Board for Charter Schools to provide a quality education to Arizona students, and I'm excited to serve for you. Thank you.
And next we have Ashley Pyers.
Good morning, Board President Close, Superintendent Designee Miller, and board members. My name is Ashley Pyres, and I recently joined the Arizona State Board for Charter Schools as an education program specialist. Since joining the agency, I've learned a great deal regarding charter-specific compliance and how that correlates to my prior experience as an elementary district educator in the state of New Jersey. I'm thrilled to bring my teaching experience and passion for compliance to the agency and the charters we serve. My master's degree in elementary education and my bilingual language skills also allow me to serve our community in a greater capacity. As a mother of 2 children who will soon enter the public school system, I have an in-depth and personal knowledge of how the decisions we make on a daily basis affect the lives of the citizens of Arizona. Being a citizen of the great state of Arizona for the last year has been an amazing experience for my family as a whole. I'm eager to continue working alongside the team and the board to accomplish our united mission of improving public education in Arizona by sponsoring charter schools that provide quality educational choices. Thank you.
And lastly, we have Linda.
Good morning, board President Close, Superintendent Designee Miller, and board members. My name is Linda Lothy, and I recently joined the Arizona State Board for Charter Schools as an education program specialist. The calling of this position and role has resonated with me for quite some time. Since joining the agency, this calling has become more pronounced as I learn more about the agency's mission to improve public education in Arizona by sponsoring charter schools that provide quality educational choices. I arrived in Arizona a little over 2 decades ago, and I'm honored to bring my past experience as director of a small but powerful Montessori charter school, along with administrative and teaching experience working for a larger alternative charter high school network to this new role. Both carry great perspectives of the needs of our growing Arizona children have to become leaders and contributing citizens of our state. My time spent building strong relationships with community members, schools, parents, and students is an asset in creating these same kinds of robust relationships with our charter schools, as I am able to provide an outside lens of working administratively for various types of public charter schools, allowing me to show empathy and compassion when meeting the needs of our charter holders. I look forward with anticipation and excitement to gain even more insight of my role and become an integral part of the agency's goals. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to the status of board actions and legal matters. For the 2 current legal matters that have been ongoing, I'm happy to report that they both have been placed on today's agenda for consideration. And as always, for each board meeting, I am to report to you how many amendments, surrenders, Arizona online instruction amendments, and school visits were completed. And so as a report to that, I have 0 surrenders were approved since our last board meeting. 0 Arizona online instruction amendment requests were approved since then as well. As for amendment requests, we did approve as the executive director and under the authority that this board has provided me, I did approve 139 amendment requests. And as a reminder of what those amendments entail, these are more, I would say, technical in nature. These are more updates to the charter contract that our charters are updating to their charter holders. And typically those amendment requests look like governance requests, location requests, change in grades, that type of thing. Okay. And then as for school visits, the academic team has been quickly working on putting together those reviews. They did complete 8 first-year school reviews and 2 second-year reviews. We have not yet done our renewal reviews. And as a reminder, those reviews at this point are virtual. We have not done any of the pop-in visits or in-person visits for those reviews. We do typically like to make sure that we don't do any in-person visits until there's been a few months or at least a few weeks for schools to really begin their school year and get acclimated to the next school year. So we want to be very cognizant of the needs of our schools in the beginning of the school year. And with that, President Close, that is all that I have to report.
Thank you, Ashley. We'll go ahead and move on to item F, call to the public. No public comments or requests to speak were received, so we'll move on to item G, consent agenda. All items on the agenda will be considered by single motion unless requested otherwise by a board member. Are there any requests from the board to consider otherwise? All right. Hearing none, is there a motion?
This is Jessica. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Member Swanson. Go ahead and take a vote.
Vice President Montiers,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett.
Aye.
Thank you. Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Close.
Aye.
I'm sorry, motion passes with majority.
Mics are tricky sometimes. Moving on to item H, compliance matters. Are you handling these, Ashley, or?
President Close, Joanna will be doing the presentation.
Good morning, President Close and board members. So today you will be considering 4 charter holders that have failed to administer state assessments as required by the State Board of Education. Pursuant to our Arizona revised statutes, all charter holders are required to participate in required state assessments as designated by the State Board of Education. In fiscal year 23, these assessments included the measurement of pupil achievement on the state board adopted academic standards in reading, writing, mathematics, and science. Board staff was notified by the assessment division from the Arizona Department of Education that during the fiscal year 2023 testing window, we had 4 charter holders that had failed to administer one or more of their assessments. Board staff did communicate the failure to administer each assessment to the appropriate charter holder. Each charter holder here today did provide additional information regarding the reasons for failing to administer the required assessments. Board staff also met with them afterwards to also discuss what this process would look like when they come up here for noncompliance. The board may take action as it deems appropriate or necessary under board rule for each of the following charter holders: Camp Ridge Academy East Incorporated, Crown Charter School Incorporated, Painted Desert Demonstration Projects, and the Grande Innovation Academy. Each of the charter holders or each of their individual executive summaries does include which state assessments they failed to provide and any communications that the board staff would have had with them. In addition to that, we have drafted a proposed consent agreement that is attached to this just based on the actions that you might take. But please remember that pursuant to Arizona Administrative Codes, this action may include issuing a notice of intent to revoke a school's charter or entering into a consent agreement. Do you have any
Joanna,
questions for
I was
me?
just going to interject real quickly. I
Yes.
apologize. That so thank you for the introduction of items H1A through H1D. And I just wanted to state again that each item will be taken or addressed separately to allow the charter representatives to speak and a motion to be made for each individual charter. Any other questions from the board for Joanna at this point? Okay.
So the first one is Camp Ridge Academy Incorporated. Cambridge Academy East Incorporated.
Good morning.
Good morning. We've prepared a short explanation for you today that I'm just going to go ahead and read. The story of Cambridge Academy's transformation is one that I, Kaylee Smith, have been deeply involved in. When I joined as a principal and district administrator in 2021, and then charter representative in 2023, alongside Amy Menares, we were confronted with declining enrollment and struggling test scores. Undeterred, we embarked on a transformative journey that has reshaped the school's trajectory. Our decision to sell our Queen Creek campus and focus on enhancing our Mesa campus marked a pivotal turning point. The proceeds from the sale weren't just a financial boost. They enabled us to undertake vital capital improvements and effectively market our Mesa campus. This strategic shift led to a remarkable upswing in enrollment. The improvements were not limited to enrollment figures. We witnessed an overall enhancement in academic performance, teacher recruitment, and teacher retention. It's worth noting that every teacher offered a contract for the 23-24 school year chose to return, an impressive feat in the face of a national teacher shortage. School benchmark scores showed remarkable quarterly improvements, reflecting the dedication of both our staff and students toward achieving their goals. These holistic improvements are a testament to effective leadership and our commitment to reshaping the school's culture and efficiency, even while managing the challenges of merging 2 schools and, as you may know, wearing the many hats of a small charter school administrator. However, amidst these significant accomplishments, we stumbled regarding the ASBCS testing deadline. As the Achievement District Test Coordinator and fulfilling roles as principal and charter representative, I wholeheartedly accept accountability for this lapse. Even though I was diligent in completing the checklist provided by ADE, I misread the deadline date for the ASBCS and scheduled it a week later. An error in making the calendar with the correct testing deadline, a human error, resulted in a missed testing opportunity for our students and teachers. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, Amy and I, backed by our team at Cambridge Academy, swiftly took corrective action. We bolstered our team and instituted robust checks and balances for testing, ensuring such lapses remain in the past. We implemented the use of a team software system called ClickUp, which enables us to assign and monitor all administrative tasks. Tasks cannot be marked as completed until 2 additional team members have reviewed and approved the work. In addition, we have made it a policy that our board approves all testing schedules during their October meeting each year. We want you to know that we were ready and eager to administer all the achievement tests to our students, including the ASBCS. The dedication and commitment of our staff and students were evident through the remarkable improvements seen in our fiscal year 23 preliminary data. Proficiency stability points went from 16.25 in fiscal year 22 to 18.83. Growth points went from 22.60 in fiscal year 22 to 46.39. Acceleration readiness points went from 9.0 in fiscal year 22 to 10.0. The total points earned went from 55.17 in fiscal year 22 to 85.58. And our percent tested even went up from 97.37% to 100% tested. As I hope you can see from these results, we have tirelessly worked to enhance our reputation with the Charter Board and ADE and elevated student achievement levels. Our students and teachers were more than ready to take the ASBCS. Although these challenges and changes we faced last year cannot excuse the oversight, they provide context for understanding how it occurred. We remain steadfast in our commitment to continuous improvement, and the measures we have put in place will ensure that such errors do not happen again. I am deeply sorry for this oversight and am determined to learn from it as we continue to work towards the success of our students at Cambridge Academy. We stand before you today, not only to acknowledge our mistake, but also to highlight our dedication to growth and excellence. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board?
And this is Jessica. I have a question. So how did you come to ClickUp? That's what you called it, the software program. How did you, as an administration, move with that particular program, and what other benefits does it have just besides the testing portion?
It was at the very end of last school year. One of our other admin team members stumbled upon it, I guess, and he brought it up and showed us how it worked, and we liked how it worked, and it's been working for us. We put all tasks on there, and then we don't click it off until we have 2 other admin team members double check, review, and then we mark it off as completed.
You can also mark what kind of priority it is as well.
Right. It's nice. It's right now because we're super small. The free version is working for us, but you can customize it more, but it really does work for us, and we're liking it a lot.
And I have another question. I'm sorry. So as far as district coordinator and then site coordinator for state testing, have you passed some of that off onto other people so that maybe the responsibility is a little bit more
Yes.
even?
Yes.
Okay.
I can't tell you, I haven't slept since this happened. It's been, it was pretty devastating when I actually realized that we missed it. Our students were ready. I have felt horrible about it, and we have definitely, we hired another admin that is taking a lot of that off of our plates. So as far as the testing goes.
I'm sorry, I have just one more question
No,
and
I
then
know.
I will stop monopolizing the microphone. As far as you had said that your board is voting on the testing schedule as well. Have you already had that October board meeting and has that
No,
already
it's
gone
actually
through?
next week,
Okay,
but we have our proposed schedule all
Here-
in place.
lovely.
I brought that in case you want to see it.
Great, great.
President Close, sorry.
Feel free to ask.
Jessica, your question.
No,
Yeah,
no.
perfect. So we got 4 schools in front of us that have had sort of a similar situation. Is there something that about the ADE isn't communicating that would create, is there something that can be helpful that we could instruct staff to pass on? So this,
I
would
think
be easier
honestly,
for
what
schools to
happened, it
understand.
was the same schedule, the previous year. And so you think it's, we just assume that, you do language arts one day and math one day, and then science is at the end. And here's the 3 weeks, but it just didn't line up.
It was completely my fault. I have to take responsibility for it. I just misread the date. And even though I kept both checklists, ADE provides the checklists for both ASBCS and ASA. I had them on my desk all spring. And I don't know why I just didn't see that deadline moved up. So, ahead of the rest. And, it was a
Thank you.
busy year for us.
Thank you.
President Close, I have a question. Thank you, ladies. I understand very well the multiple hats of an operator. So it's easy to understand how this could happen. And I think you've done a great job at expressing to us why it matters so much to you and the steps you've taken to make sure it doesn't happen again. I am curious, since science testing is just 1 grade, and then ultimately how many students missed out on the opportunity to test this year? And then what did the communication to their families look like on this subject?
Okay, that's a good question. So it was approximately 37 students. Because we did have 4 8th graders last year at our Queen Creek campus, which we sold. So that was the amount of students. What we did in place of that is we created a science cumulative test for the end of the year within our benchmark system that we normally use. And we gave those results to the parents so that they could see how their students were doing.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? If there are no more questions, is there a motion?
This is Jessica. I move to find that by failing to administer the ASBCS assessment in fiscal year 2023 as required by the Arizona State Board of Education, Cambridge Academy East, hereinafter referred to as the charter holder, has violated its charter contract and state law. These failures and violations provide a sufficient basis to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter's contract. However, the board is authorized to exercise its legal discretion with regard to actions taken against a charter that is not in compliance with its charter and state law. In an effort to bring the charter holder into compliance, the board moves to enter into a consent agreement. I move that the board adopt the assessment consent agreement as presented to the board and found in the materials for today's board meeting, and authorize the board president to approve and sign the assessment consent agreement executed by charter holder without the agreement being brought before the entire board for approval at a subsequent meeting. If the charter holder chooses not to accept the terms of the assessment consent agreement or an executed copy of the consent agreement along with governing board minutes approving the consent agreement are not received by board staff, then it is the board's discretion that the charter holder be placed on a future agenda for a motion to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's charter contract.
Okay, there is a motion. Is there a second?
Carol, second.
Please take a vote. Ashley, I guess.
Vice President Montiers,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Close.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
All right, very well. Miss, you know what you have to do.
Thank you.
Joanna's and who's next?
Sorry, it's going to be Crown Charter School Incorporated.
Good morning.
President Close, esteemed members of the board. I'm James Shade with Crown Charter School. This is our principal, Janice Ramirez. Ms. Ramirez and I are here because of a problem that we had at the school. The problem was we didn't take the science test. I'm not minimizing anything because it cost 27 kids the chance to take the science test. We transposed the science test from the writing test, and we did the writing test before the science test. We made a lot of corrections since then. This has never happened to us before, and it will never happen again. We have our schedule, we've had our schedule, but we made a serious mistake. And we'll tell you about what we did to correct that mistake, but we're very sorry. We apologize. We apologize to our parents and to you also. We took the rest of the test and did very well, in my estimation. We beat the proficiency averages of the state, every subject, every grade. So we're where we want to be, but we're not to the levels we want to be. We're in a position to get there. So with your help, we'll tell you what we did to correct the situation so that it'll never happen again. Of course, we have our schedule. We had it on one person. We now have it in the office. We have it in the accounting. We have it with administration. We have it everywhere. Everybody knows what the schedule is, and it cannot happen again. We tried to correct the situation, and as soon as we found out, we asked if they could open the window for just one day, and the Department of Ed could not do that. It was on us. It was our fault. So it's my fault, our team. So what we've done is we've added a lot of test coordinators. We've added extra people to take our inflow of information electronically. And we feel that that's going to correct that situation. In the meantime, we were here before virtually with you last year for our grades. And I'm so happy that our grades have come up, and they're going to continue to go up in my estimation. We're more electronically based for the kids. The kids are getting a lot of practice on the computer. We're getting used to taking computer tests. Cox has fixed their problem, and our computers work well now. So it's not that I don't want to see you again, but hopefully we never see you again in this situation. Ms. Ramirez can talk to you a little bit, maybe about what she feels that we've done, the electronics of it. She's very, very sharp technically. And Ms. Ramirez, how have we helped, if you would explain, how we helped the children, and we've made the transition to computers?
Good morning. We have implemented a lot more assessment-based electronic academics, something that I believe we have failed in the past. It is immediate feedback for both students and teachers. They are able to, at an instant, determine whether these students are mastering skills or need additional intervention. We've implemented a lot of tutoring after school, Monday through Thursday program with our master teachers at our campus that have helped our teachers and students. As far as the communication with the district test coordinator, I was a district test coordinator last year. It was on me, and we now have 3 different test coordinators with different forms of communication. We have implemented Google Suite, which has helped us tremendously just because it populates our calendars, our meetings, and we have our fancy watches that tell us exactly what and when everything is due. So it has helped us tremendously. We've utilized it for just general appointments, just to test it out. We have made our test schedule ahead of time, something that we decided this summer on. As far as the deadline goes, it was complete oversight on my part. I confused it with the writing deadline and the science deadline. I thought it was two different things, and I scheduled it for a week after. So that is something that won't happen again. And because of the schedule, we are going to be done with testing 3 weeks ahead of time, as opposed to where we were last year.
Okay, we'll throw it right back to you. And
All right.
Anyway, it's nice to see you all.
Well, thank you for your statement, your explanation. Any questions or comments from the board?
President Close, I have the same question. How many students were impacted, and then how did you notify your community and families about the oversight?
So it was 25 children that didn't get to take the science test. As I said, they did well on the other tests, and we fully expected, and it was an oversight. It wasn't on purpose, but so we notified the parents of that. And
We did have a benchmark, excuse me, Mr.
Yeah.
Shea. We did have a science benchmark testing so that parents would know exactly where they were by that time of the year. So they would have some sort of result of how their students were performing in science.
Okay,
President Close.
members Lawrence.
Thank you. Can you tell me, you mentioned improvement to your letter grade?
say that again, if you would. Sir.
Improvement to your letter grade? Can you tell
Yes.
us about what's happening and where you're
We
at?
don't know, but with some of our improvement, I'm expecting possibly even an A, but a B for sure.
Thank you.
And we'll see that at the end of the month there.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
I have one quick question. I won't ask three, I promise. Can you talk to us a little bit about, you said that you brought in some additional testing coordinators.
Yes.
Are they, obviously you're a district testing coordinator. How do you set up the rest of your coordinator site? Are they also district reps? How is that working out for you? Just to make sure that communication's going to multiple people and not just falling on one person.
Sure. We're one school in our district. So Ms. Ramirez has been with us for 16 or 17 years. We've had other people with us that long, and we brought them into the process instead of doing whoever's the busiest gets the more work, which usually is what we used to do. We're splitting that up, spreading that out. They have the office calendar. Even our accountant, who's been with us that long, also knows what the schedule is, so that everybody will say, oh, are we ready for the science test? Are we ready? Are we ready, especially for the science test? We're ready for everything else. But science is our favorite subject these days. You bet.
Good. All right. Any other questions? If there are no other questions, is there a motion?
This is Jessica. I move to find that by failing to administer the Arizona Science Assessment, ASBCS, in fiscal year 2023, as required by Arizona State Board of Education, Crown Charter School, hereinafter referred to as the charter holder, has violated its charter contract and state law. These failures and violations, provide a sufficient basis to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's contract. However, the board is authorized to exercise its legal discretion with regard to actions taken against a charter holder that is not in compliance with its charter and state law. In an effort to bring the charter holder into compliance, the board moves to enter into a consent agreement. I move that the board adopt the assessment consent agreement as presented to the board and found in the materials for today's board meeting, and authorize the board president to approve and sign the assessment consent agreement executed by the charter holder without the agreement being brought before the entire board for approval at a subsequent meeting. If the charter holder chooses not to accept the terms of the assessment consent agreement or an executed copy of the consent agreement, along with governing board minutes approving the consent agreement, are not received by board staff, then it is the board's decision that the charter holder be placed on a future agenda for a motion to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's charter contract.
Thank you, Jessica. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Carol Crockett, happy to second the motion.
Dr. Crockett. Ashley, please take the vote.
Vice President Montier,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Miss Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Miss Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Yes.
President Close.
Aye.
Motion passes with majority.
All right.
We're pleased to sign. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Hopefully we don't see you again too soon.
All right, so the next charter holder is Painted Desert Demonstration Projects, and they're here today.
Good morning.
Morning, board members. My name is Andy LaFrate, and I'm the assistant principal at the Star School, which is part of Painted Desert Demonstration Projects. We are a charter school located in Flagstaff, and we failed to take the writing test last spring. So I wanted to offer an explanation of what happened, let you know what we are doing to correct that going forward. So the person who was our test coordinator last year was a longtime employee of our school. She was a teacher with us for many years, and then went back to graduate school for school psychology, and we hired her as a part-time district test coordinator. So that was her sole responsibility, was to manage our state testing for AASA, AZSI, and Azella. She was a quarter-time employee and had a really strong track record at our school as a teacher, as well as the previous year, she was our district test coordinator, and everything went off without a hitch. However, she was in a bike accident. She was actually riding her bike to work and was hit by a truck and sustained a traumatic brain injury. And because of that, it impaired her cognitive functioning, and she had memory issues. So what happened was she missed the deadline for the test by 1 day. We were 1 day outside of the testing window for the writing test, and she attributed that to the effects of her accident. So because of that, we immediately contacted ADE, told them about the error, and they said the window's closed. There's nothing you can do at this point to go back and take the test. So we communicated, very clearly with the accountability office, immediately realized this would impact our state letter grade. We also realized it would impact our standing with you all. It impacted our reporting with one of our federal grants. So it had major consequences that we were aware of immediately. So the individual who made the mistake offered to resign, and we did terminate her contract. So what we've done going forward is we have a new person in that test coordinator role. Instead of being a quarter-time employee, this new person is a 3/4 time employee, and they're coordinating our state testing as well as our internal benchmark assessments. So we have somebody devoting more time to assessments, and we also have increased our administrative oversight into the process. So because of this being a human error, we realized we needed multiple people to be checking in and making sure that we don't have this happen again. So we checked the testing schedule with our district test coordinator, then I checked it, and then our principal also checked it. So we have 3 people with eyes on it. We've also added it to our school calendar, so it's visible to all of our staff. So we feel like with those changes that, this won't happen again. We're also doing our internal benchmark testing at regular intervals. So that's happening on schedule, and we're seeing really good performance. So I just wanted to present some data. Last year, because we weren't able to take the writing assessment, it also, they didn't give us a score for any of the ELA assessment. So even though our students took the reading portions of the test, I guess because of the way the scoring works through Pearson, they were not able to provide any type of score for the whole ELA test, and we weren't able to see our reading scores either. And that was also internally when we get our kind of individual student reports, those were all blank for ELA. So because of that, I wanted to just show you that, last year our students started off in July on their first benchmark test with a 39% raw score in ELA. And then when they took their final benchmark score in February, they went up to 46%. So we did see considerable improvement in ELA with our internal benchmark testing. Also in previous years, we had seen market improvement in our ELA scores. Right after COVID, we only had 6% of our students who exceeded or met the standard. The following year, it went up to 17%. So, I think that data all shows that we are making good progress in terms of our teaching with ELA, even though we don't have the data from the state assessment. I also wanted to emphasize that we are a B school. Our most recent letter grade was a B, and that's something that we were expecting to maintain this coming year. We still don't know how the lack of the ELA test scores will affect our letter grade. It sounds like we may either not receive a letter grade or it's going to go down substantially. So this was a big hit for us as a school. But we're doing a lot of good things. We recently had our accreditation through Cognia and received very high scores for that, and have been accredited for another 5 years with them. We have a number of grants, 2 of which are from the federal government. One is a Native American and Alaskan Children in Schools grant, which funds our Navajo and English language initiatives. That's a 5-year, $1.3 million program that we've been exceeding all the expectations and meeting objectives for. We also have a school climate transformation grant, which we're in the 5th year of, and that's also from the U.S. Department of Education, and have been meeting all of our objectives in that grant as well. And we recently received a governor's grant for COVID relief that's focused on math intervention. So this is a major award for our school. So we put a lot of effort into ELA, and we're really seeing the fruits of our labors. And now we really want to focus on math to get our students caught up after COVID. We recently implemented a leadership team. We also have a student council that just was activated again for the first time since COVID. So our students are getting involved in leadership. And we also wanted to point out that we do have a track record of making things right. So we were previously in an operational consent agreement, and since then have met all of the criteria for that. So attended all the meetings on time, submitted documentation as needed. We have the charter board coming out for the annual visits, and it seems like every year the findings are less and less. So we really feel like we're doing a good job in terms of compliance, not only with the charter board, but with our federal grants and other state requirements. So we, serve a population that is almost entirely Indigenous students. Our student population is 99% Native American. There's tremendous need in our community for a school like ours. So we understand we made a huge mistake. We've put a lot of effort into correcting it, and we hope that you all will give us another chance and allow us to keep operating our school. Thank you.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you. I did actually want to ask because it says you're in Flagstaff, but I noticed that there's no schools within 5 miles. So can you elaborate on where you're located?
Yeah, so we're located east of Flagstaff, about 30 minutes outside of Flagstaff. We're a rural and remote charter. We're actually off-grid too. We're the first off-grid public school in the country. It's all run on solar power. And we're a few miles from the reservation line. So we're not actually on the Navajo Nation, but we're very close. About 3/4 of our students do come from the reservation. And like I said, it's almost entirely a Native American population. And there, like you said, are no schools. There's really nothing nearby. We're in a pretty...
And so, yeah, I mean, you're headquartered in Flagstaff technically, but you're not
Yes.
really in Flagstaff.
So the address says Flagstaff, but we're actually located in Coconino County.
Okay, I just wanted some clarification.
Yeah.
And any other questions from the board comments?
I have a
Dr.
question,
Crockett?
President Close. Thank you for an excellent presentation. Can you clarify whether your 3/4 time person who has been hired to test coordinate has additional responsibilities or is solely dedicated to?
Yeah, so her primary responsibility is the testing. So it's state testing as well as our internal benchmark testing.
And she has no other?
She also helps with some grant writing if she has extra time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to piggyback on Dr. Crockett. Actually, you were thinking the same thing I was thinking. I was wondering what background your testing coordinator has, since this is a new person to your school. How did you come upon her and put her into that role?
Good question. So she's not actually new to our school. She's been a school employee for 3 years and was previously working as a grant coordinator. So she coordinated a grant that we had for community food boxes to provide food to our community. That's how she started at our school, and then transitioned to help coordinate some of our federal grants. She has a master's degree and I think has a really good mind for compliance and data. And she's been really on top of that. She was running the data for our school climate transformation grant previously. We have to do a survey that surveys 4 different groups and has 80 different questions for each group. And she was very organized in terms of how she could assemble that into like a really intelligible report. So, yeah.
President Close, question. Thank you for this presentation and also for serving the community that you serve. And how did they respond and how were they notified about this?
Yeah. So we did notify our parents through a letter, and I didn't mention this, but it affected 65 students. I know you asked the other charter holders for that. So it was about half of our student population, because this was in the entire group from 3rd through 8th grade. And we serve about 115 students. So we did notify families with a letter. We also talked about it at one of our quarterly parent nights. Yeah.
All right. Any other questions or comments?
I just have one more question. Sorry. Oh, wait, it went away. No, actually, I'm going to piggyback on Superintendent Designee Miller. So some of the other schools mentioned that they provided some additional data for the families so that the families knew how the students were doing. Did you do something similar with your internal benchmark data?
So we did not provide that data at the time, but I think that would probably be a good thing to do.
Okay, very good. Any other questions or comments? If not, is there a motion?
This is Jessica. I move to find that by failing to administer the AASA writing assessment in fiscal year 2023 as required by the Arizona State Board of Education, Painted Desert Demonstration Projects, hereinafter referred to as the charter holder, has violated its charter contract and state law. These failures and violations provide a sufficient basis to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's contract. However, the board is authorized to exercise its legal discretion with regard to actions taken against a charter holder that is not in compliance with its charter and state law. In an effort to bring the charter holder into compliance, the board moves to enter into a consent agreement. I move that the board adopt the assessment consent agreement as presented to the board and found in the materials for today's board meeting, and authorize the board president to approve and sign the assessment consent agreement executed by the charter holder without the agreement being brought before the entire board for approval. If the charter holder chooses not to accept the terms of the assessment consent agreement or an executed copy of the consent agreement, along with the governing board minutes approving the consent agreement, are not received by board staff, then it is the board's decision that the charter holder be placed on a future agenda for a motion to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's charter contract.
Thank you, Jessica. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Carol Crockett.
Second by Dr. Crockett. Ashley, please take the vote.
Vice President Montiers,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Miss Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Miss Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Close,
Aye.
motion passes.
All right, thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right, the fourth charter holder is the Grande Innovation Academy.
Do we have a representative?
Yes, I am on Zoom.
Okay. All right.
Hi, dear board members. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity today to address the failure of the Grande Innovation Academy to administer the 5th and 8th grade science test last spring. I want to start off first saying that I was heartbroken when I first was made aware of this mistake. And our school has solid systems in place. We've been operating for 8 years. We use that data to plan our professional development. We use that data to drive lessons and create our curriculum maps for the school year. So our systems are in place to use the data, and we were very heartbroken when our students weren't given the opportunity to show what they know. A recap of what happened. Our assessment coordinator for last year had been an employee for 7 years in various roles. I had full confidence in her. Her track record was excellent. She simply scheduled the incorrect window for the Arizona science test. Upon hearing about that, the Monday after the window closed, I contacted the Arizona Department of Ed, and they denied opening the window for one day only, obviously because it was due to human error. My next step was to contact our parents, which we did via email, and I notified our staff of the mistake. This affected about 180 students. Our school's been operating for 8 years, and we have never made this kind of mistake before, and we plan on never making it again. A few things moving forward is that I have a new assessment coordinator, somebody who is a fully certified teacher and has been in this working in public education, as well as our charter school for about 15 years. She has 2 assistants that are also working with her. Their sole job is to do all of the assessments in the school. So not just the state standardized test, but all of our internal assessments, our gifted screening tests, our Azella, anything that has a test on it, she's handling it. She has created an assessment calendar. We are a Google school, so everything is on Google Sheets and Google Docs. So she has all of those documents fully populated, and they are shared with all of our staff, but also a leadership team made up of 7 people, 3 academic coaches, a counselor, a dean, the business manager, myself, office manager. And we have all looked at all of the assessments, but in particular, the state assessments for the spring, and they have all been appropriately scheduled on the calendar. We believe that this current system will eliminate any error going forward, but I do want to just sincerely apologize for this mistake to the board. We have apologized to our families and to our staff and to our students not being able to show what they know because they were truly ready. We have internal science assessments that we have used every year for everybody, but especially for 5th and 8th grade. And our students were ready to show what they know. And I can assure you that it will not happen going forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Yes, there are none. All the questions were answered. Is there a motion?
This is Jessica. I think it helps to go last, so you kind of know what we're looking at. I move to find that by failing to administer the ASBCS assessment in fiscal year 2023, as required by the State Board of Education, the Grande Innovation Academy, hereinafter referred to as the charter holder, has violated its charter contract and state law. These failures and violations provide a sufficient basis to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's contract. However, the board is authorized to exercise its legal discretion with regards to actions taken against a charter holder that is not in compliance with its charter and state law. In an effort to bring the charter holder into compliance, the board moves to enter into a consent agreement. I move that the board adopt the assessment consent agreement as presented to the board and found in the materials for today's board meeting, and authorize the board president to approve and sign the assessment consent agreement executed by the charter holder without the agreement being brought before the entire board for approval at a subsequent meeting. If the charter holder chooses not to accept the terms of the assessment consent agreement, or an executed copy of the consent agreement along with the governing board minutes approving the consent agreement are not received by board staff, then it is the board's decision that the charter holder be placed on a future agenda for a motion to issue a notice of intent to revoke the charter holder's charter contract.
Thank you, Jessica. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Seconds. Carol
Seconded by
Croft.
Dr. Crockett. Ashley?
Vice President Montierth,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Close.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Very well. Congratulations, Grande.
Thank you.
Hope not to see you again soon.
Right, exactly.
Moving on, item I, reconsideration of an administratively incomplete finding. Rachel.
Good morning, President Close, Superintendent Designee Miller, and board members. Matina's Community Services, Inc., hereafter referred to as the applicant,
Submitted an administratively incomplete application package. Board staff deemed the application administratively incomplete and closed the applicant's file as required by board rule and the board approved application for a new charter. The applicant has requested that the board reconsider the determination. Therefore, the applicant has been placed on the agenda for the board's consideration. The board's packet includes a complete outline of the timeframes for the application cycle and the applicant's submitted application package, as well as a listing of the reasons the application package was deemed administratively incomplete. Further, all communications with the applicant regarding the finding are included for the board's review and consideration, including those that were submitted last week. Additionally, on Friday evening, the applicant provided board staff with additional documentation. However, pursuant to AACR 75203H, the board's reconsideration may not include any new or additional information, documents, or materials. So to be clear, those materials from Friday are actually application documents. I'm available for any questions if you have them.
Any questions for Rachel? Not.
I'm so sorry. Good morning. I'm with Vanguard Academy. Are we allowed to ask questions?
Ashley?
Good morning, Board. We are also here representing Vanguard Academy, if we may.
President Close, I believe at this time, it should be the representative speaking, and then there really isn't any questions. It's them presenting the information to you, and then board members can ask questions of the applicant.
Are there representatives from the applicant?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Good morning. My name is Mariam Mohammed, the chair to Vanguard Academy and Matina's Community Services, Inc.
Good morning, all, and I am Stacy Mohammed. I am one of the school board members.
Good morning. My name is Takara Trailer. I'm joining via Zoom. I am also on the LLC board for Vanguard Academy.
Did you have a statement to make?
We did. We wanted just to make sure that the board was aware of all the items that was incomplete, that we did complete it. We vigorously went out and made sure we had all of the information provided. It was actually in the document itself. It just was not in the actual location, but the information was provided. But we wanted to make it clear that we really want to get a charter school going for the Lavine area. It's in dire need of having a charter school. Our passion is there. We're committed. We're ready to get it going. We just need our application to go through. If there's anything that you all have any questions for us, we're here to answer them. But essentially, we just want you to know that we're here to really impede on you how important it is. You're all aware of the school situations in Arizona is in desperate need of some revamping, desperate need of some extra consideration for looking at really the agenda of how it affects all of our children. And we want to make sure that we have that opportunity to provide those services, because we do think that Vanguard Academy will be essential to the school system in Arizona. And that's why we're here. We want you to know that we're serious about this. We're committed to do this, and we're ready to do this.
And also, if I may, sorry, Miss Sister Stacy, but also some of the things that deemed our application incomplete, they were actually provided, but not provided in a manner of what they asked. So for the fingerprint clearance card, they actually provided the check that it was current, valid, and able, but they wanted an actual copy of the card. And so if you look at our application and you look at our correspondence, we do stress the fact that, we don't have sixth grade. It was only K through fifth grade in elementary. And 2 of our incompleteness was based upon not having the information for 6th to 8th grade or checking a box for 6th grade, even though we're not even supporting to have 6th grade at this time.
All right, thank you. Any questions from the board?
President Close, I have a question. Perhaps I should have asked it. Thank you for being here this morning. Before the school representatives came up, it may actually be a question for board staff or for Rachel. I noticed in the materials that we were provided, the applicant has noted a 25-day response concern. Is it possible to speak to that for us?
Absolutely. Board rule provides board staff 25 business days to respond to the applicant and let them know if their application is administratively complete or incomplete. The applicant in the original request for reconsideration said we did not respond within 25 days. We did not respond within 25 calendar days. However, we did meet the requirements of rule and respond within 25 business days as required.
Thank you so much for clarifying. And then just a follow-up question. Is there any limitation on the timeline for reapplication, starting a new application process? What does the timeline look like for them to do that?
So statute and board rule indicate that the board runs one application process per year. So that application is required by rule to be posted to the board's website no later than March. I believe it's the 30th. And that is when the new application cycle would kick off. So if an applicant is not successful in the current application cycle, they would need to proceed to the next application cycle, which we do anticipate kicking off in January or February next year.
Thank you, Rachel. That was going to be my question too, was procedurally. Any other questions?
I do have a question. So my understanding of the application process is that there are trainings that you can attend prior to submitting your application to ensure that it's administratively complete. And then, and forgive me for sounding flippant, and I don't mean to, but there's a rough draft period, so to speak. The English part of me that's coming in. So when you're submitting an essay, or in this case, an application, there's usually a rough draft part or a chance to be able to talk with the person that's going to be reviewing your application to see if it's complete, if there's anything missing, maybe give you a little bit of feedback before the deadline, which is then your final draft. And then it can't be a working meeting. It's more of a yes or no. You completed or did not complete what was needed. Can you talk me through your participation in that process, just so I have a better understanding from your perspective?
Yes, ma'am. We were aware of the period where you can submit the paperwork in, but during the Zoom call that we have, it was actually discouraged to do that because they were kind of, I guess, running behind in getting the applications together. So they were saying that even if we were to submit it, they wouldn't be able to get it back to us in time before the deadline of the application ended. So we still wouldn't have got that feedback before the deadline for the actual deadline to turn in the application.
Board members, if I can address that. I do have the two very specific components of the script from the trainings that were given. It does seem that this applicant had a misunderstanding of board staff's explanation of the soft deadline. The soft deadline is established based on that 25-day board rule that exists. So the soft deadline, when we tell someone, and I apologize, I don't off the top of my head remember what it was. If we say it's April 24th, and when we do training, we're very clear with applicants that if you wait till April 24th, that's the 25 business day timeframe. And so if you wait until April 24th to submit, you're probably going to get 24-hour turnaround on your feedback because we have 25 business days to respond. And so during training, I'm very clear about that. And it actually came about last year. We upped the information that we provide around that soft deadline because we had some folks who were confused and then frustrated that they only got 24 hours. So this year we added some language, and I'd be happy to read to you from the exact script I read in the application training, if that's helpful. So in the training, I said, I want to be clear about the soft deadline. The date is provided to you as a courtesy. Board staff has 25 business days to review an application submission, and most of the time it takes us that full time, especially in April and May. However, the soft deadline can be important, especially for first-time applicants. The soft deadline provides a low-stakes administrative review for an applicant. If an application is submitted on or before the soft deadline, the applicant will receive an administrative review from board staff prior to the final submission deadline. However, if you submit on April 24th, you will likely only get 24 hours turnaround with your feedback. However, it is important to note that the April 24th deadline is the last date to get that feedback in advance of the hard deadline. If you will need or want time to correct deficiencies, it is recommended that you submit earlier.
All right. Any other questions? I think it's pretty. Sorry.
Christina Foster has a question.
Member Swanson and then Member Foster.
Thank you.
So the board has given staff the authority to review these applications, and then they are set. And then the next step, and help me, Andrea, is that it would go to the peer reviewers.
The technical review panel.
Technical review panel that then look at it. Is this application, if it had been passed along, reviewable by the technical review panel?
So the rationale for the administrative review being as stringent as it is to ensure that we have all the components to pass it along to the technical review panel. So, for example, one of the missing components in this application surrounded the funding. So when an applicant submits their verified proof of secure funds to show they have the money in their accounts to cover the initial budget, if the individual loaning those funds is not a member of the applicant team, we require additional documentation detailing how is that loan? Is it a loan? Is it a donation? Is it needing to be paid back? What are the terms of that repayment? That feeds the budgetary piece that the TRP reviews. So without that documentation, the TRP cannot review the first year budget or the startup budget and the 3-year budget to determine, do these costs make sense? Are they going to need to pay these back? Is this built into the budget? Is there interest on this? They need those pieces. There are some other pieces in this application that fall along those same lines, but that's just one example. So the short answer to your question, Member Swanson, is no, there were missing components that would have created significant hurdles for the technical review panel and frankly for the applicant, because they would not be getting a full and complete review of their application package due to these deficiencies.
Thank you. And then just to follow up, President Close, has anything like this ever come before the board?
To our knowledge, and we leaned on Joanna a little bit on this as well, because she had the application process before I did. We have never had anyone go, we've had folks request reconsideration from the executive director, but usually at that point they stop. We don't know of any that have come to the board.
Thank you.
Welcome.
All right, thank you. Member Foster, did you have a question or a comment?
Yeah, just a quick clarification question. No time other than the last day did this did the applicant contact staff and ask questions regarding their application, correct?
Member Foster, if I may just provide a clarifying statement. Ms.
Okay.
Mahmoud has been emailing me additional documentation over, I would say, the past week or so. Some of the documentation that was provided to me, I believe it was on Wednesday, is included in your board materials. Those are statements about their arguments, and those were provided in your materials. There were materials that were provided to me on Friday evening and also Sunday evening last night. Those items were not provided in your board materials because those are pieces of documentation that are actually missing from the application themselves. And due to rule, as Rachel had mentioned earlier, the consideration in front of the board today is an administrative completeness. So you are determining if the application itself that was submitted back during the application window and deadline was complete, and new documentation or forms or materials that would show completeness cannot be reviewed at this time.
Member Foster, is that acceptable?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I was just asking, during that review period, did they contact staff and ask questions prior to the closure of the review period?
Member Foster, I can share that this applicant did sign into some or all, and I apologize for not knowing for sure, of our training sessions. I do know that they were signed into those training sessions. Aside from that, I cannot recall if the applicant reached out with questions during that period, but they may know that they did. I talked to a lot of applicants during the review period or during that submission period, so I may have forgotten. It is a possibility.
Okay, just wondering. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments from the board? If there are no questions, are you ready for a motion?
I am. This is Jessica. I move to uphold the finding of the board staff that the application package submitted by, forgive me if I butcher your name, Matina's Community Services, Inc. is administratively incomplete for the reasons identified in the board's administratively incomplete notification dated July 5, 2023. More specifically, the application package submitted by Matina's Community Service, Inc. failed to comply with Arizona Administrative Code R7-5-203B, requiring that all the information, materials, documents, attachments, signatures, and notarizations identified in the application be included, and that all templates are unmodified and complete.
There is a motion. Is there a second?
Dr. Crockett, second.
Second by Dr. Crockett. Ashley, please take a vote.
Vice President Monteith,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
I'm going to vote aye, but I'd just like to make a comment. And, I think that it's unfortunate that we're here. We have a process that is complicated and very hard. I understand that we need good charters and we need, passion like you have. And I just encourage you to double down and come back and get it, because we need quality charters. So, the application process also shows that people are ready to do this. And so we just focus on that and move forward. So, but I vote aye.
President Close.
Aye, and then I'm going to make a comment after the vote is tallied.
President Close, motion passes.
All right, thank you. And I just wanted to echo Jim. Jim, you stole my thunder there. We do appreciate, as a board, we do appreciate your effort and your passion and your commitment. And we do encourage you to come back. This was a technical obstacle that you were unable to overcome, but we look forward to seeing you again soon. Let's see. Next item is academic performance framework. Joanna.
So today we have proposed revisions to the academic performance framework indicator. The proposal is to remove the school improvement measure from the board's academic performance framework for the fiscal year 2023 academic dashboard and future academic dashboards. In accordance with the board's procedures for rule and policy adoption, the proposed modifications were open for public comment from September 1st through September 25th, 2023. The initial communication was circulated through the board's website and newsletter. Today's meeting provides a second opportunity for public comment required under the board's procedures. All comments that were received are in support of the proposed changes, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions for Joanna? If not, did you need a motion? Are
Yes,
ready?
we do.
I'm ready. I move that the board adopt the revisions to the indicators under the academic performance framework as presented today.
Motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Crockett. Ashley, please take a vote.
Vice President Monteith,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Close.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Very good. Moving on. Item K, policy and procedures for revising the board's performance frameworks. Ashley.
Thank you, President Close. The Auditor General recently concluded its performance and sunset audit of the board. The final report includes a recommendation that the board develop written policies and procedures, revising the board's financial framework. As a result of this recommendation, board staff is proposing a written policy and procedure document for the revision of all three of the board's performance frameworks: academic, financial, and operational. Although board staff regularly reviews the three frameworks and the performance of its charter holders and schools under those frameworks, and has previously brought proposed changes and revisions to the board for consideration, a written process for review has not been established or adopted. The policy with revisions based on public comment is being presented for board consideration. The board's meeting on October 16th today provides that second opportunity for public comment on the proposed policy.
Thank you, Ashley. Any questions from the board? If there are none, Jessica?
I move that the board adopt the policy and procedures for revising the board's performance framework as presented today.
Motion, is there a second?
Happy to second, Carol.
Dr. Crockett? Ashley?
Vice President Monteith,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Close.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Very good. Item L, discussion on possible action regarding Pinnacle Education Keno's notice of intent to revoke. Looks like we need to move into executive session. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Is there a motion to move into executive session?
I move to enter into executive session for the purpose of receiving legal advice from the board's attorney concerning this item and for discussion or consultation with its attorney in order to consider the board's position and instruct its attorney regarding pending or contemplated my goodness, I'm so sorry. Litigation or settlement discussions.
I think you've done enough speaking for all of us today.
Stop.
There's the motion. Is there a second?
Second, Carol.
Seconded by Dr. Crockett. Ashley, will go ahead and take the vote for executive session.
Vice President Monteith,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Close.
Aye.
Motion passes. So
We're now
just
in executive session.
we are now moving into executive session. So for board members that are in person, we have a room right over here that we will go into. And then for member Foster, you stay where you're at and we will send you a link to go into a virtual meeting. And so you'll join us in a few minutes. Yep, and we'll do a quick roll call. Well, I'll try to make it quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. President Close,
Here.
Vice President Monteith,
Here.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Here.
Ms. Barr,
Here.
Mr. Chimuni, Dr. Crockett,
Here.
Ms. Foster,
Here.
Mr. Ruiz,
Here.
Mr. Stratton, Mr. Swanson.
Here.
You have a quorum.
All right. Is there a motion for item L?
I move to approve the agreement discussed in executive session to resolve the matter concerning Pinnacle Education Keno, rescind the board's motion to issue a notice of intent to revoke, and authorize the board president to execute the agreement on behalf of the board.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second, Carol.
Seconded by Dr. Crockett. Ashley, please take a vote.
Vice President Monteith,
Aye.
Superintendent Designee Miller,
Aye.
Ms. Barr,
Aye.
Dr. Crockett,
Aye.
Ms. Foster,
Aye.
Mr. Ruiz,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
President Close.
Aye.
Motion passes with majority.
Very good. Anything for item M? Ashley?
Our next board meeting is on November 20th, and that is all I have to report.
Is that a few days before Thanksgiving?
Yes.
That's all I have to report.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. If that's all, then meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you. See you guys later.